Good evening.
Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to After Dark.
Good evening. Welcome to After Dark. Okay. Um, yeah, it's 8 past 8. I was gonna say it's 8 o'clock. It's 8 past 8. Sometimes we have a little bit of a problem. Not a problem, just a bit of a delay when we're doing the switchover, being that it's just the one studio, and we're doing the switchover, and then we need to get going with our show from the live show. If the show before us is also live. But I hope that you are with us. I hope that the kids are in bed or on their way. I hope you've got a glass of something. I heard Ray talking about our show today, and he was saying, when you see them in the studio doing After Dark, they're just lounging around, they're just having a chat. Well, that's what it is, and I'd like you to join us for that. I'd like you to join us for that chat if you can. Oh, look, I'm not starting over here because I should have known that because it was playing around earlier, it wasn't going to start. So I'm going to end that and just try and come again. But yeah, we grab a glass of something whilst I'm powering up the laptop. Get yourself something nice to drink. We're going to be discussing Master, the Tempest is Raging. Wow, Master, the Tempest is Raging. And as Charlie says, or should that be Master, the Temper is Raging? Because, anger is a real thing. Now, I can remember just the other day, just a few weeks ago, I was doing something in my church and I was standing at the front. And I think actually the service was finished or finishing because I was standing there doing my
Yeah.
I was standing there doing my, all right, one second.
Mm-hmm. 82228, right. Hope, leave a space and your message 07459 64298 studio@adventisradio.london. So you were saying, Mark?
Yeah, I'll just continue my story. So I was standing at the front and I was doing something. And I think I was just doing a vote of thanks or something like that. And somebody was saying something, and one of the elders there saw that I was getting a little bit frustrated with what was going on. And he signaled to me from the congregation. He was on the front row, like he said, like he waved to me, said, "Don't let it bother you. Just let it go, let it go." And I said, "Yeah, I'm cool." And then somebody else said something else,
Mm.
and the red mist descended.
Ooh.
So it's almost like if it was coming from the place that I expected it, I could manage it. I said, "Oh no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine." But then if the fiery darts of the wicked, oh, I'm not going to make this tonight. Look, I can see that I think it's telling me that I've got too much stuff open because this one is dying. This computer is really dying. My proper computer has died. My new computer,
It's in the box, isn't it?
no. It won't power up. It just stopped.
Wow.
It just won't power up. So, but I had to resurrect. I had to resurrect this old one, and
I need to apologize. I've still got this cough on my chest.
you've got a tickle.
I've got a cough on my chest. I had a chest infection.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
actually, yeah. But I'm
Wow.
on the other side of it. But this cough is still remaining. Like I had a interested in. Anyway, let me not say that out loud already. Good evening, guys. Everyone that's joining us on Instagram, we have good evening from Yvonne. Only here for 30 minutes. She's got an oboe session. So we'll put
An
my
oboe.
questions in, yes.
Oh, yes.
She says check response, playback, anger. She'll check the response for the answer.
Yeah.
Anger, my specialist area. Menopausal rage, is that a thing? Oh, the menopausal show was before this one.
Yeah.
But you know what, Mark? I asked myself the question, when was the last time I was angry? And I'm just trying to think when's the last time, because I know I've said it before in terms of me, I've spent time I spent time really looking inwards and reflecting on my character and stuff that I want to not have there and not, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'm just trying to think, because Now, when I was younger, I was a little hothead, would you believe it or not?
Get away.
Yeah,
Get
innit?
away. Get away.
Yeah. Um, and I've worked on myself into a place where there's not a lot of things that get me angry because, you're ready to foam at the mouth, you're ready to, what I mean, and so one thing I always note to self in terms of how do you know you're getting angry?
Mm.
And one of my signs of getting angry is I've got two mics, I know. One of my signs of getting angry is, and knowing that I'm getting angry, is I start chopping up and speaking patois in my head.
Oh,
So if I'm speaking patois in my head and I'm not speaking my normal accent in my head, that's one of my first ding ding ding. I mean, check yourself, Charlie. You know what I mean? Your temperature's rising.
Mhm. Uh-huh. Well, the only thing that I want to take offense in, why should patois be the signal to you that why our language?
I'm Jamaican.
Speak Chinese and go
I am Jamaican.
go Chinese and let that be the signal that you're angry. I know this anger thing, because we almost get a little bit of a pass because it said, be angry and sin not. So, it's all right to be angry, but anger is a dangerous thing.
Mm.
Anger is a dangerous thing.
Is it anger that's the dangerous thing, or is it the emotions that are attached to anger? Or am I just being pedantic?
You know, I think I would say anger is a dangerous thing. So I think the anger is dangerous,
Mm.
and it could be because the anger and the emotions that are attached to it drive you a certain way. But I would say I when I have been angry, I can't separate the anger from the emotion of the anger, if you see what I mean. So there are two. So for me, and just as an individual, they're inextricably linked. The anger and the emotion of the anger. Or maybe I don't realize I'm angry until the emotion kicks in and I've lost control and the red mist has descended. Maybe I was already angry and I didn't realize and didn't control it and didn't whatever. But for me, I think they're linked personally from in my experience.
And I think one of the things I recognize with myself is that, and I guess that's the reason in terms of use of substances and stuff that I stay away from, because I don't like the concept of of losing control.
Not being in control, yeah.
And that's the thing for me. So
Yeah.
because I don't like the concept of not being in control, and I realize that, when sometimes you get to a point and you said red mist, and I always laugh because I remember working with someone and they're like, the red mist. And I was just like, anyway, yeah, my response was very different. But I don't
What
like,
was your response?
huh?
Tidy it up so that I mean, it is after dark, so you can tell us. You don't have to use.
Fix up. I was like, fix up. Because, my, and I, isn't that I'm not sympathetic or empathetic, but I think as an adult, there's choices. And there's lots of people who are sitting in prison because they flipped to someone, someone touched them the wrong way, said something the wrong way, angered them. And I always remember, and I think this was when I started really dealing with anger. Um, I was 19 years old, and I never forget that. Me and my friend, my very good friend, was walking through Northwest London. I wouldn't even say which area it is, but we were walking through
You did. You just said Northwest London.
Well, no, but there's a specific area.
Oh,
That
so you can tell us it's Northwest London,
is
but you can't
Northwest,
say
yes.
what part of
It was
Hampstead it was.
NW10. I can't say that out loud. No, I'm
No,
joking.
go on, go on.
And we were walking, and I remember this girl looked at me. So me and my friend walking, and this girl looked at me. All she did was look at me. I didn't really care. All of a sudden, my friend jumped in and was like, "Who you looking at?" And that was the end of Solomon Grundy. Because this other woman now switched And she started, and then all of a sudden, she did the unpardonable sin for me. She had a bottle in her hand, and
Which
she went spinning.
That's your friend or the other girl?
The other girl.
Yeah.
All I was just like, I said to the, I am sorry I was standing in the way when you looked at me. Because I said, and I remember the girl was to calm the girl down so that she would then go about her day. And I remember talking to my friend after that and saying to her, I said, you could have lost your life in that second. Don't ever. And she's like, but she looked at, I said, but she looked at me. She didn't touch me. She didn't even say a word to me. And you know, when you just have that feeling in terms of that's your body takes over and responds in a way and I always remember, and I always hold that as a memory because when I was younger, occasionally I was known for using my hands. And
for heated fellowship.
And there's a few ex-boyfriends that can testify.
I didn't have a few experiences. Just check the patio. Sorry. But it's just a concept in terms of, as I said, losing control of your own faculties, and then afterwards, when that red mist returns,
Yeah.
and then saying, what happened? What happened? I don't know. I don't not understanding what happened, what took place, because you allowed yourself to lose
Do you think
control.
that actually happens?
Yeah.
That somebody loses all control
Yes.
and then says, "Oh, what happened?"
Well.
Give me an
No. What happened isn't necessarily what did I do. It's more what happened to make me lose control.
Do you think people actually think like that?
Yes. Because no, sometimes the red mist has descended with me.
Yes.
And the red mist, and this is what I was saying to Charlie earlier, that's why I think anger is a very dangerous thing. So the question she asked was, is anger the dangerous thing or the emotions that come with it? And I said, for some people, and I said, for me specifically, I try not to get angry because I can't split the anger and the emotion. Now, maybe I'm already angry and I don't know, but for what I identify as anger, there is the red mist has already descended. So maybe I was angry before, but I don't know that, and I don't call that anger. But there is a point where when the red mist descends, now I know exactly what I'm doing. It's not like, and when you tell me what I did, I would be like, Mark,
you're not going to wake up.
I would be like saying,
Dr. Bruce Banner.
Yeah, and say,
wake up afterwards and all your clothes are shrunk back into the same size as you.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say I don't know what I did last night.
Yeah,
I know exactly what I did. What I might be thinking is, why did you let it bother you that much?
Right.
That you did it. So I think that anger.
And that's why I have to tame my mouth, because I understand the force of the inherited tongue that I have. And I understand that if I don't control what I say, and also that's another reason in terms of getting angry, because when you get angry, then things come out of your mouth, and because and I never forget, I had a friend, and they were unable to when they got angry, they were unable to control their tongue, and they would just say anything that came out of their mouth. And I remember being left a voicemail, and it was like a 7-minute voicemail, and I only listened to 2 minutes, and because I realized where the electric was going. And I remember then having a conversation, and they turned around to me and say, "Did you?" Because they felt very accomplished because they had left this voicemail in vertical and was telling me about myself. And I remember, and I said I didn't listen to it because I choose what I listen to and what I don't listen to.
Yeah.
No, you need to listen to it because I need you to hear about yourself because I don't think you're aware. And I said, no, I won't listen to it. And I remember this was a very interesting dialogue. But I remember then turning around and saying, because I'm in control. of what people said. But I said, but I can respond to you. And if I respond to you, because I know if you tip me to a point that and I unleash the dragon, I know the force of the dragon. I will tell you about yourself. You will cry, you will hurt. But then I also realize the next day I'll be sitting down thinking to myself, as you just said, why did you allow that to happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I will be feeling bad about myself as well.
Can I say, Mark, we were just talking about the red mist and
Yeah.
I'd say that I don't actually believe in this red mist thing, as if it's
Don't
some
trust me,
sort of
it's real.
mystical thing that comes over you.
Oh no, it's just an
that
expression.
makes
Yeah,
you-
go on.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
This mystical thing
Yeah.
that comes over you
Yeah.
that allows you to do something that is so out of control
Yeah.
that it's an out of body experience
Yeah.
that allows you to do it. And I have great difficulty in understanding that
Yeah.
because I'll tell you why.
Mm.
I think things will kind of build up and you have certain habits in the way that you do things. So, Charlie, the person that left the voicemail message for you, to think about that voicemail before they left that message.
Yeah.
Right? The person that does harm to someone has to think about the fact that if they throw fists or if they fire a gun or if they use a knife,
Yeah.
what the consequences of that is going to be.
Yeah.
And I have great difficulty. Please forgive me if I'm going off script here, but I have so much difficulty understanding that someone has this out of body experience that allows them to lose all control, and then sometime afterwards, I don't know, the next 15 minutes or whatever,
They do the Bruce Banner.
they do the Dr. Bruce Banner and then come back in control and whatever. I have difficulty in understanding.
And I hear that. But I think I was sharing with Mark prior to the show about something that happened in Harrow. Must be a good 8 years now. It happened. There was this gentleman who worked for a company, had a long service in terms of his job, but had a dispute with his neighbors. Yeah. So they had this ongoing dispute for years.
Yes.
And one morning there was an issue with the bin.
Yes.
And who knows? Bin was over the wrong boundary. Whoever knows, they had an issue with the bin. He went in the house, got a knife and stabbed her. Boom, dead. Then he got sentenced, obviously, because life.
Yeah.
And it's that whole. I'm not talking about the abusive man I'm talking about the people in that split moment.
Yes.
Who's even and sorry if this brings back any picture to anyone of their childhood. You know that moment for anyone who was touched by their parents as children, when that when they're looking for something, they're looking, or they go for the belt or whatever, or whatever it is, sometimes, or you see some people, just their response is just anger, violence, and it's not something that they plan to.
Or they don't think about what the consequences.
They're not thinking of the consequences of the action.
And that's what I talk about when I say about the red mist.
Right.
Because it's not an out of body experience. No, it was up here. It's not an out of body. I mean, I was gonna come back to you on that and say it's not so much an out of body experience. You're not thinking about the consequence of it at the time. So you start to lose your reasoning. Now, the interesting thing about this, and you say, I see you say that, you find that hard to grasp that. And there are degrees of it.
Yeah.
Because I'd say, no, I don't find it hard to grasp because the red mist descends on me sometimes.
It doesn't affect you in that way.
Well, no, it does. It does. The red mist descends on me.
Yeah.
So I can't allow myself to get angry. So this is because we said, the Bible said, be angry, but sin not.
Yeah.
But I can't separate the angry from the sinning. if I'm angry, I'm gonna sin.
Yeah.
So I try not to get angry. Now Josh now teases me mainly if we're watching something on TV. Because prior to that, in discussing this, a guy growing up and whatever, and I'm talking to him about life and relationships and whatever else, I always said to him, Josh, only say what you believe, what you mean. So even if I'm angry, see, and so it is degrees, and I think this is why for everybody, it's the remedy is going to be different,
Right?
Because for me, it's almost like if the redness descends, and I won't start saying things to you or about you that I don't believe. I won't all of a sudden start telling you about you were never a good singer and you should never have been in the chorale and you're not worthy to be an elder and you're not. And then tomorrow say, Paul, I don't know why I said that.
Really
I shouldn't have said that to you.
Yeah.
No, and Josh now,
because it's been there.
Yeah,
it's been there. It's been waiting to come out.
That's what I believe.
Yes.
And this is what I say I've said to Josh, so even if you're in a situation with your girlfriend or your wife when you get married or whatever, and you get into a blazing row, only say what in your heart is true.
Yes.
And so now, whenever, like if we're watching something and somebody does that on the show, he will look at me and laugh. And I'll say, you see, why did he say that? Because they say, I'm sorry. And he goes, but Dad, they were angry. Yeah, but now he does it to wind me up because I still believe that even if I'm angry, the only thing that should come out of me is what is in me.
Yes.
Yeah, the abundance of the heart.
Yeah, that's what I believe.
So
if I start telling you that you're a this or that and the other, that I believe
it's been in there.
I believe that. Now, Josh's argument and what all these other people's argument is, no, it's because I was angry. I said a few things that I didn't really mean. I said it to hurt you.
Right.
Now, if I'm going to use,
there's different degrees of that.
No, but then the thing with me, and then I see you've got a message
here.
Got
loads of messages.
You have, and you got some over there. But okay, but the thing with me, is that you could say something really hurtful to me that you believe and always have believed, and well, if that's what you really think, I shouldn't really walk with you. But then if you say to me, oh Mark, what I said yesterday, I really don't believe it. I only said it to hurt you. That to me is also frightening.
Of course it is.
Because that means that in any given day, you'll say any given thing just to spite me.
I formulated that thought in my mind and in my heart because I wanted you to suffer.
Yes, and that's not good.
But
you know, reading this, she's coming back now.
No,
come back, man. We're gonna get to you. We see the comment. We're coming.
But the fact that you could formulate something in that manner, and it's not true, and it's spiteful, tells me you are not a nice person.
Well, no, that's
and
what we're saying.
No good, and you mean me harm. So what would they say in Shakespeare? Like, farewell. Farewell.
Be gone with you.
Be gone with you. That's what I'm looking for.
No, exactly. That's what we're saying. Because that's frightening.
I have a good friend. And I class him as a really dear good friend. It is not a lie to say virtually every day I'm talking him down from the bed. Right?
Okay. Right.
He's just so full of anger that everything comes with a simile. Oh, such and such, because it looked like and I'm looking at that whole thing and I'm saying, how can I get this person not to be so angry that they are out of control? Because virtually everything that comes out of his mouth is anger. It's anger, or it's anger related to something that's happened to him in life, to something that somebody said, to some treatment that
Yeah.
was given to him by his parents or by a member of the family or whatever, and they live in that place.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
a person of faith. He's a person of faith.
Yeah.
He's a person of faith, but he lives so deep in that place. And I'm virtually talking every time I go anywhere with him, and somebody slightly moves. Oh yeah, you see, and they were going to do so. Why do you have
And
to
the
take
reason-
that
yeah.
on?
Two things I'll say to you, and I must, Sabrina, Yvonne, we see you, we hear you, we're coming, coming.
Yeah, we're coming.
Two
Not just
things.
coming and come.
Two things I was going to say about that. The first about is going to be about generational stuff and letting it go.
Yes.
But recently I was having a conversation with a male friend of mine.
Mhm.
And I was saying, you know what? I think it's coming up to that top-up time for me. You know what I mean? I need to go get some counseling.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, you know what I
Okay.
mean? Lots of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I just, you know what I mean, just need to unpack a little bit and get
Yeah.
repacked
Yeah.
nicely again. And then he was asking me, he's like, does it work for you?
Mhm.
Does counseling actually work for you? And I was like, you know what, it does, you know? And we were having this, and he said, I don't like counseling and it doesn't work for me. So my response was, have you thought of coaching?
Coaching.
Mhm. Because what he was saying that he didn't like was the fact that you go to a counselor and they want you to come up with the solutions. And sometimes you want someone to give you the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't want someone to say to you, so what do you think? What do you think's gonna make it better? Sometimes you want someone that's gonna get in the dirt with you and be like, okay, right, well, let's all put it out and put a plan together. Let's put a structure together. I said, you know what?
And that's what a coach would do.
That's what a coach would
Okay.
do. And
Mhm.
now, granted, coaches regulate themselves differently. So there's so many people calling themselves career coaches and whatever. Not everyone is qualified. So be careful who you go to.
Yeah.
But it's the importance of finding the thing that works for you, and recognizing. And no, first of all, do you actually want to be better? Because you know what I've realized with some people. Some
They
people
enjoy the
enjoy sitting in their own
Yeah.
food. Yeah. So because they found comfort sitting in misery,
Yeah.
there is nothing. So you say to them, here's an ice cream. Yeah, but it's off though. Well, but you haven't even tasted it yet. But because everything, and
That's like
if
his friend on the ledge.
if you are happy, and some people, it's just like some people thrive in dysfunction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some people need no, and I have to be very careful. I was saying in case anyone takes it the wrong way. Some people need to be in physical relationships because that's how in their mind
Right.
they function. They can't
Only in their mind.
in them. Yeah. So
Well, yeah,
I don't
but-
need you to be nice to me. I
Yeah.
want you to be mean to me.
But you know, the sad thing about that, and it's probably not so uncommon, is that there are so many people in that place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they go on to damage other people around them because of their behavior, and they're going from one
Yeah.
to another.
Yeah. Hurt people, healed people, healed
Yeah, they're
people.
not healed.
Yvonne says sometimes when we have been hurt deep as a child, in adulthood, that hidden inner child will sometimes unveil itself.
Mhm.
It'll never be in a vulnerable situation. Oh, so it will unveil itself to that it will never be in a vulnerable situation again. So different reasons for reactions.
Yes.
Learned behavior, nurture versus environment, or peer group mentality, gang pack behavior.
Okay.
And then Sabrina said, Charlie, I hear you. We had building work going on, and I had to keep praying as we had a neighbor from hell. But listen, neighbors from hell? Hey.
Sent directly from the devil.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, imagine me getting my fence fixed, and my neighbor tells my builder what size fence he wants in his garden.
That's right.
And then when
you fixing the
and I'm I am paying to fix the fence. So then when I come back and I tell the builder, no, tell him I want the other side facing this way, he storms out. Scary, stop! turn it round. And then he puts himself on in my garden. I am not going to move until you turn it round. I said, you are, because this is private property. Get off my land.
That's right.
The
Right.
Jesus in me. Hey, anyway.
Right.
Hey.
Right.
Little Miss
That's
Johnson
right.
says, ARL, Famlam, good evening, good evening, good evening. But
We're
yeah,
talking about anger. Yvonne. Not Yvonne, that wasn't Yvonne.
no,
Who was that saying?
that was Little Miss Johnson.
Little Miss Johnson. We're
Little Miss
talking about anger.
Johnson. Yeah,
So-
and hold on, those who on YouTube as well, we've got some watching. Hi, be angry and sin not. That's what. Listen,
That's my next.
Mark has been quoting that since we started. But
Yeah. Is that for saints?
No, it's not for saints. And it tells us
Is
how
that
to
for
get.
saints?
No, it tells us how to get there. We can't just decide that. Like, I can't decide. I mean, yeah, I'm in my 60s, but I'm a work in progress. I don't know when I don't know when this job going to finish. But I've been working on this since I was about 14.
40 years. Yeah.
No, longer, 14. So yeah. Oh, a number to give out: 0745 964 2898. That's 0745 964 2898. Join the conversation. We will read out the messages and take your contribution into the argument. Okay, so go on.
we need to. I think there's something about choice in it, in all of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if God has given us the power of choice,
Yeah.
and if you go back to be angry and sin not. If the anger may be a natural response,
Mhm.
yeah, is how do you sin not? So how do you recognize the fact that okay,
Mhm.
you have just said that to me, Mark,
Mhm.
and I am angry by what you've just said to me.
Mhm.
How can I be angry and not want to retaliate? Because you don't know, but you know that whole thing of what's it called? In natural instinct. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I go to hit you,
Yeah.
your natural instinct might be to block me from touching your
Yeah.
face or whatever it is.
It's not yet done.
Huh?
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Guys,
I had
guys,
that.
my
I did
chest,
have
my
that.
chest, man.
I had that. I had that. I was coming from Vespers, but it was Friday night and I came in late. 'Cause I went to Vespa. I'm sorry, I went to Vespa and then Vespa at the college finished, but then a couple of the guys were going into the dorm just to play music.
Mm.
So I went with them and just sitting in there, and they were there playing their guitars and singing. So I didn't play any instruments. I just sat in there and the guys were singing and playing guitars, singing along and whatever. So, just guys in the dorm, and we just sang and So now when, let's say, Vespers to finish, I can't remember the time, maybe 8:30.
Mm.
Take me 20, 30 minutes to get home, 9 o'clock maybe. I'm rolling in Friday night, 11:45. My mum just met me at the door, right? And she come with one left hook. So I grabbed her wrist.
You blocked.
I grabbed her wrist.
Yeah.
And then she came with a right hook. And I grabbed that wrist. So now I'm standing there. But guys, I'm 17 at this point, right?
Yeah.
So I'm standing there looking down at my poor mom, holding her two wrists.
Yeah.
She just went, Fred, Mark is out here trying to kill me. And then the thing that annoyed me was that I ran. He was actually sleeping in my room at the time.
Yeah.
So I ran into my room and said, Dad, I wasn't fighting, Mom. She tried to slap me and I grabbed her hand. And he lay in the bed and see my daddy laughing. And that hurt me more, because he was laughing. He was laughing at my trying to explain myself.
Yes.
And he done know that I wasn't out there troubling my mom.
Yeah.
But anyway, she was angry. She was angry.
Here's the thing. I mean, we talked about be angry and sin not.
Mm.
And I said, that's for saints.
Yeah.
Right? Let me explain what I mean by that. So, Charlie, somebody slaps Leisha. in her face.
Use a different example. Charlie's already saying.
999.
Charlie's already saying use a different example because the game's over.
The game is over. The truth of the matter is, the game is over because there is an anger that pervades your whole body at that point. Is it possible to sin not?
I think it is.
In that kind of angry state, because my heart would have to be the most forgiving
Yeah.
of hearts.
Yeah.
And if I have not trained my heart,
so no, but
if I have not trained
that's the
my heart to be
that's the
that,
key. That's the key.
you say that, but even the most trained heart.
No. But you say that, Paul, because this is why I say for me the anger and the sin is not. It's if once I'm angry, it's too late.
Yes.
So my training is to not get angry.
Yes.
All right. So
Yeah, but I'm
yeah, well, you can train it that way too.
you can train me all you like.
No.
You took my chance.
No. But that's the. All right, and I'm not going to bring this. Well, I kind of have to bring it in. I was at Jermaine spoke at our men's day, and he made the point that when he was in the court and the guy that murdered his son, he was looking and thinking, I want to rehabilitate this guy. And he was saying he was getting vexed with himself for not being vexed with the boy. So he's saying it was frustrating to him that I should be feeling like I want to kill you.
Yes.
But I'm feeling what happened to you? Where did you go wrong? What drove you to want to do this?
Yeah.
Is there something in you that we can attach to that? So it is possible, no matter what our training is or what our habits are, it is possible to get to this point or that point that the Bible is talking about. Because it says in James 1:19, 1:19 and 20, it says, know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. James 1:19 and 20. So therefore, if we're going to do that Timothy thing and say every doctrine is for education and what else again?
Edification.
Education and blah, rightly dividing the word of truth and all of that stuff. There's somewhere in my notes that it says, and it's deep into page 8 or 9. It says that Satan never comes at you on your area of strength. You see, there's no point.
Yeah.
There are certain things that he won't get me on. You know, and I'll see you and Charlie struggling with that, and I'll think, guys, come on. How long have we known that this is not the way that we should live?
Yeah.
Because he won't get me on that.
Yeah.
But the things that he will get me on, you know, that's where he attacks me. And you'll be looking at me and like, Mark, aren't you the same guy that was just up there last week asking for the offering? And today and today you're doing this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So I see it. I've got a message here. So Martin Filbert asks this question. So I want you guys to prepare an answer for him. He says, it's good to see you on again, though, Martin. So Martin says, what then is righteous indignation? I don't think that righteous indignation is necessarily anger. Okay. Let me not split the hairs on it because some will say no. Righteous indignation is anger, and it's not the anger. I don't know if you were listening from the beginning, Martin, but it's not the anger like when I was talking. He gave the debate I was having with my son when he says, "But Dad, they're angry, so they're gonna say something just to hurt you." So to me, the righteous indignation is not that kind of anger. It is a seeing an injustice and be determining yourself to put it right. So I see this, and I cannot allow this folly to carry on. I'm going to put it right. I'm going to intervene. So that is what I would say when you talk about righteous indignation. That's kind of where I would go with that. Because as we said earlier, and I don't know if you were on from the beginning, that you've either got the case of you're going to say things about me that you always believed, or you're going that are not good, that are not complimentary,
Yes.
or you're going to make up things that you know would just hurt me.
Trigger.
Yeah, they're just things to stab me with
Mhm.
that you don't actually believe are true,
Yes.
but you know that will cut me to the quick.
I
And then that.
I think you've been saving it up, Mark.
Well, no,
You've been
I
saying
no,
it.
because there are certain things that people have said to
So-
me
Yeah.
that I know that they know
Yeah.
are not
It's
true.
not true.
But
they've
they,
been saving it up because they know that it's going to trigger you.
yes,
and it's
exactly.
going to get you.
So I'm saying, so I don't think not any of those are righteous indignation.
Yeah, they've just been waiting for that.
Yeah, a nice chance to get you.
Yeah.
So again, my answer to Martin is that righteous indignation is seeing an injustice and determining in your mind and heart and spirit and soul that you're going to put it right. You're not going to stand for it. It's not going to happen on your watch.
Mhm.
Not as far as I'm concerned. That doesn't happen. That would be my answer to him.
I've got two questions, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a comment after.
Yeah.
Sabrina says, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord.
Mhm.
Yes, he does. But I think the reality of that sometimes is very different. No. Because
I'm
you know,
not. I'm not.
yeah.
arguing.
Okay, let me read a comment
Let
this
my
up.
red
So
send up for you tonight, Jack.
the London Surveyor
Right.
says, it can only be Christ within us
Yeah.
that can result in what you describe, Jermaine saying in court.
Yes.
And he said, "Good evening," or "Good evening."
Yeah. Hi, Rose.
You know what? I remember, and I think, at the beginning I said I can't remember the last time I was angry.
Mhm.
And actually, and I'm now remembering.
I was angry at 7:30.
Oh no, stop it. No, it was a bit before that when you didn't tell me anyway.
Do you see that now?
Yes.
But I only said it because I was angry.
Yeah. Whatever. I remember our breakup.
Mhm.
And the other party was just talking absolute breeze, nonsense, stupidness. And I was so upset by it. I hope they're listening. Because I would
I
love
hope
them to
they're not.
understand. I'm joking.
I hope they're
I'm
not.
only joking. There's a comment from him. No, I'm joking.
What's
And
his name, Martin?
no.
Martin,
It was-
Martin. No, because Martin's just.
Let her get it.
it was
out.
even-
She said you got a comment.
Yeah, no. But you know what? Anger was what I felt, and revenge is what I did. And I remember, I remember, I psychoanalyzed him.
Mhm.
And by the time I had come up for breath and reached my full stop, he was just like, "Oh, you're a nice person, aren't you?"
But was what you were saying true?
Yes, every single thing
Okay.
that I had said to him was
Was the truth.
absolutely factual about him.
Okay.
I brought every single
Sin back to
every
remembrance.
not sin, but every single even the things about himself that he didn't realize. I put them thick in front of his face and said, "Sit there, yeah." And and after that, and then after his comment, because I think he was just shocked that he was like, "Have you been harboring all this stuff?" And I thought we were in a relationship kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you've been harboring on, and you just went. And I remember after thinking, "Oh Lord, now we have to deal with that now." Because
You know the interesting thing though.
You had ended the relationship though.
no,
Didn't-
we
No, it was in the process.
no. This was coming up to the last times we ever spoke
Yes.
spoke kind
But
of
you
thing.
know the interesting thing is that the other party
Mhm.
knew all of that
about themselves.
about themselves.
They did, but they didn't realize I knew.
Well, you
Or,
know,
or
the
maybe
thing
deep
is,
down when you said it, you said, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But they wouldn't necessarily be carrying it around knowing,
Right.
like it's in their
they,
consciousness.
that's
think he was a
right.
bit shocked that
They
I-
knew in their heart
They're a
that
dirty
every
dog.
word that you
They're a dirty
Charlie,
bungle.
Charlie,
Charlie,
Any-
Charlie,
Yes,
yeah.
dirty
Charlie.
bungle.
Charlie.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm over
they
it.
knew.
You're so over it. We can tell. You're so over it, Charlie.
They knew in their heart that every word that was said was the truth. Now, there's two ways of responding to that.
Mhm.
You can either respond to that in all honesty and say, you know what? You're right. Right? Or you can keep still and not let the other person know or acknowledge that they are 100% correct. You know, and what do you even call that? Because at the end of the day, the whole thing is deception anyway. And who are you deceiving? You're not deceiving yourself. The other person knows you. They called you out. But it's the problem with and we are talking from a perspective of people of faith.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what. Yeah, that's why some of the
Right.
remedies I have
Yeah.
are because, and some people have said it that it's with Christ in you, and
Yes.
and I've got some what I think might be steps to help us get there. But
Well,
yeah, it is the Christ.
you know what? Okay, if let me just play devil's advocate. And I would like to know what those steps are, because quite frankly,
God, they don't make no sense.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense
What
to
does it
me.
what does it make sense, Paul?
Huh?
What does it make sense?
Why doesn't it make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're calling me out, and I don't want to acknowledge that you're calling me out.
But it will only make sense if you acknowledge and
But,
want to be better.
No, but it actually does make sense, Mark. That's the point.
Yeah,
The point is that I just don't want you to be calling me out.
Yeah,
And-
exactly,
but-
exactly.
and
So
I
the
think-
so the steps only work if you want to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
better.
Maybe it might be a learning curve.
But
Yeah,
but I think and I guess in all seriousness, I think there was a two-prong approach, because there was stuff that I didn't think that he had realized about himself,
Yeah.
that I was drawing a very clear map to.
With
And
her eyes bulging and foam dripping from the corners of her mouth.
Not really.
foam was not coming from my mouth. I trust me, it would have gotten in the way of my tongue.
Yeah, get that foam out of the way. I'm not finished giving you a tongue lashing. I
No.
ain't finished.
No, so yes, I wanted to,
Yeah.
and I have to be honest, there was elements in me, because of his behavior, which was hurtful to me.
Yes.
I wanted to hurt him also. I
Yes,
wanted, and you know what, Mark? Yeah, I get what it is, because you know what, and you know when you're very careful in terms of what you do, but actually, I think there was in that moment. And maybe I'll share to you what he had done, and then you will understand.
That yes, man, juke him again.
Yeah, yeah. But it was just so flabbergasting to me that some of the stuff that he had done and said and everything else, I just needed to just just.
But that's like what Josh says. But she was angry.
No. No. I was measured though, because if I was angry, any and everything would have fling out my mouth. But any and everything didn't fling out my mouth, because it was a very good history lesson, geography lesson, and art
So
lesson.
all you're saying is that you're quite skilled at jabbing.
And I'm working
That's
on it.
all.
And I'm working on it.
She's saying, no, I'm quite skilled. I know how to, I know death of 1,000 cuts.
Well, you know what? Kudos to you, Charlene, for holding it down, right? And putting it across in a way that actually didn't, or at least you hoped that it didn't antagonize the situation.
No, she tried to.
any worse
Aren't you reading between the
than
lines,
that.
Paul?
I'm hearing everything at the same.
She's
but
trying
I'm
to
still saying-
antagonize him
No, they
with
weren't
the truth.
recognizing.
With the truth.
No, it wasn't about antagonizing. It was about making him know that you knew. That's not antagonizing someone. It's giving them the truth, the unadulterated
Am I
truth.
allowed to say the word dirty bungle on that?
No.
No, okay, I won't say it
Don't
again.
say it again.
All right, okay.
You
Good
got, all right, go on.
So-
And then I've got a couple here.
So Dawn says, good evening, Charlie, Mark, and Paul. Good evening, Dawn. Sabrina said, God begins by allowing small trails, then bigger and bigger ones come. With each one, we need to pray and give it to God. For he will fight our battles, meaning Jesus will show us how to solve them. Yes.
Yes. And we've got to want
Or
him
try.
to.
Sorry, she rewrote it again,
No,
but yeah,
yeah,
I
but
got
and
it.
we've got to want him to. That's the thing.
And then Roy says, "Dirty bungle?" Question mark.
Yeah,
Question
exactly,
mark.
exactly. Ask her again. Type it again.
Sorry, I won't
You're
use
taking
that.
this after dark thing too far, innit?
You know what? You know what?
You know what?
No, no,
Say, no, say it after dark, man. The kids are in bed and
no, no.
everybody's.
I think my thing. No. But my thing is,
Yeah.
and I think my point. One of my points I was trying to make, because I had several points to make. But you know what I mean. As a hurt person who's not dealing with their mess, what you're doing is you're hurting other people in the process.
Well, oh, yeah,
So
well,
fix
definitely.
yourself. Don't go messing with people's daughters
Yeah.
if you're not prepared to handle people's daughters with dignity and respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
You know what, Sean? Just thinking about that whole thing. Are we circumnavigating an action that is almost an expected action that you take as, let's just say, a mama bear, right? Because quite frankly, and which is the reason why, Mark, I talked about the saints thing,
Yeah,
because there is this expectation that people of faith exercise such control that it doesn't matter what is thrown at them, that they're able to navigate that, right?
yeah,
But the reality is, people of faith are no different
right,
to anyone else
right.
outside of their circles or whatever.
Yes,
And
I
the
agree.
truth is that if you are faced in a situation, if your back is against the wall or whatever, those talons are coming out.
You'll come out fighting.
And you will come out fighting.
Mhm.
So my point and the question that I'm asking you now is about, be angry and not sin. Is it realistic to say I can be really angry and not sin? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not a saint.
No, but I have to go by my guide, and my guide says that we are just the same as them, as the people of no faith.
Yes.
Because we will be angry and sin. But because we are of faith doesn't mean that we are saints. Well, because we're of faith, to me, means that I want to be a better version of myself. I want to have the character of Christ. I want to be more like God. I want to think the way that he thinks. I want to act and respond the way that he responds. So maybe day one of my journey, I'm going to respond exactly like all my neighbors. But maybe after I've been on this journey and constantly saying to God that I've got to change this thing about me in order to become more like you. And I want to, because I heard a pastor preach one time that sometimes we're praying to God and asking God to change us, and actually we don't actually want to change, but we just know that we should be praying to change. So and then we're complaining late after 20 years we haven't changed, but we're still feeding the dragon.
But sometimes our prayers, we're praying to God, and really we're asking them to change the other person.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just talking then. I was just being general about sometimes, you. So I was just reinforcing the fact I was saying, but we have to want to change. If we're just saying, Lord, take this anger away from me because I know I shouldn't have it, but I actually enjoy the anger, or I'm not happy with the anger, but I've accepted that as part of my character. This anger. So God, just work with me as I am, or take these people away from me so that they don't make me angry. Because you know what I'll do. If I do get angry, I'll say this, do that, da. But we've got to actually want it.
God will work with that. He will work with that, because you're saying to God, look, I acknowledge who I am
Yes.
and how I can be. And I don't want to be this person. I don't want to. But I'm interested, Mark. I'm still waiting because we,
Yeah.
you know, typically we haven't got off the first page.
Yeah, no,
I'm
second
really
page. This is page
oh,
2.
page 2.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really waiting to hear what any of those remedies are.
Yeah,
Because,
no,
you
I'm
know,
gonna
I
get
don't
to
want
them. I'm gonna get to
Can I
this.
can I
You
just
know me, I'm on a slow build. I'm building till
Yeah.
10 o'clock. It's okay. If I
At
do
10
it,
o'clock, you'll be on the
no,
first line of
no,
page
no,
2.
no, 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 no.
and then we say we
I,
need a part 2 next week.
and I don't want to get there at 9:15.
Oh,
Oh no,
oh, can I just
my
read?
live video just stopped.
No, 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 it's not there. Okay, can I just read? It says, Sabrina says, Paul, Jesus said it. Jesus did it. So yes, we can get angry and sin not. So true, Mark. The walk with God is what changes us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the. I'm just trying to get back on
Yeah.
my.
Oh, and
Thank you,
Martin.
Sabrina. Thank you. The only thing that I've got to say to that is that is you know, someone who exercises tremendous control.
For them,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, for themselves. Which is why I was asking the question about being saint-like, because people are going to get to me to an anger point where I do lose the ability to behave or act like Jesus.
Yes, now under your own steam.
Yeah.
But the desire and the goal and the drive is to change. So he wants me to go. He wants me to skip
Is
down
that
to.
is that dependent on what somebody does to you?
No, no, it's not.
It isn't.
It's not. It
So there
depends.
isn't even different degrees or whatever.
Well,
Have
there
you- have
might be
you-
degrees
Yeah.
in terms of what you're learning or what
Yeah.
you can achieve or what you can overcome on day 1, and then maybe on day 5 you can overcome the next thing.
Yeah.
And they.
Mark, have you ever seen those? There's probably thousands of clips online where you've got a courtroom scene where the parents or the family of someone that has been unalived,
Mhm.
right, is having to address the person who's actually committed that crime.
Mm.
Yes, yes.
And the pain that is in their heart because you've you've taken everything from me. How can I possibly, Mark,
Hmm.
be angry and not have sin in my heart to want the same for that other person?
Because you need to know what your desired outcome is. And
I want him to hurt. I
no,
want him
no,
to
but I
pay.
mean, no, but I mean past that, Paul. And I think if your desired outcome is that you want to be with Jesus for eternity, that needs to be your focus. And I know in the moment, because you know, I tell you, I watched that documentary on Eliana,
Oh,
the
yes.
girl that got killed
Yes.
in Croydon, and how the court case and how, you know, because that was just one of those senseless things, and
Yes.
and the excuses that the defense tried to make to mitigate the circumstances, and also the fact that there was one charge and they reduced the charge because he was able to prove that, and then they tried, because you know, I mean, he left his house, so he felt humiliated
Yes.
because I think they had laughed at him, or they put something up on one of the social medias that was, and he showed it to a friend, and he said to the friend the day before, "Yeah, that's disrespecting it." You know, so when he left his house that morning, he left his house angry because he had felt he had been disrespected by these girls, and if they try to disrespect him again, he was going to teach them a lesson. Now, I don't know if when he left his house, he knew he was actually going to use
Commit that crime.
what he had planted
Yes.
in his clothing.
Yeah.
But when you decide to leave the house with a weapon on you, you have to understand it's like, example, this I went on the scale this morning and it was smiling at me.
It lied to you.
It
No, I was just trying to help out. I wasn't making a judgment. I really honestly wasn't making a judgment.
Somebody sent you to move my cheese today, innit?
No. Because I didn't know if you were
Let
saying
me-
that it was positive
You
or
let me
negative.
finish. Well, let me finish the story now.
So I was just saying amen.
Let me finish the story now. Anyway, so I decided to go. I decided to go for a walk this morning, and you know, in my head, knowing like I had a pep in my step.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, "Ew, I can't believe I've lost this weight," and it could have literally it could have been water. You know what I mean? It could have whatever it could have been. But that confidence that it gave me a confidence, and I wasn't worried about anything else because I just felt like, oh, well, I'm lighter than I was yesterday. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is the confidence that these guys get when they have a weapon on because they believe they're invincible. Because I am now carrying something, so no one can mess with me, or no one can disrespect me.
Yeah.
I won't. And then you don't know what happens, and then all you know, you're in a situation, and then you have a decision to make.
You're not thinking about the consequences when he walked out with that weapon.
So so you look at the recollection of family sharing those things, and you think, how can you? Thank you so much, Miss Johnson. She says, yellow card mark. I think that was a red personally. But
No,
anyway.
no. You misunderstood, ref. Well, I wasn't.
Hey. We should put you in the notes to go and sit.
No.
At the wall.
I really have to protest my.
Your hands up and you kneel on some rice grain. But anyway.
Wow,
She's a master in the art of torture, isn't
this
she?
torture thing.
So okay, let's come back. I was looking.
We call that gentle parenting.
But my comment, but see, I was looking for my thing cracked. So I was desperately trying to get on. Well, just see if you can see the feed that crashed.
Yeah.
Because Martin had a comment. There were some comments that I hadn't got to read out, and I was desperately trying to get. We're back up. I was desperately trying to respond to some of the comments that we hadn't yet read out. But when I go on to it, I can't see the comments now if I go on my phone. So I'll just press on while you're doing that. So let's consider two ways to rid ourselves of anger. Okay, one, if you're it gives an example of an angry dad here, but he says this isn't easy, but it's essential. We need for fewer things to make us angry. We should be hard to get to the deadly sin of anger, like the Cedar Point trip. Really, that made me angry. Okay, and this is what I was saying. Like the things, because whilst I'm trying to control my anger and not be an angry person, I don't try to think how far can I go down the line and still be in control. What I try to do is to not let things get me angry.
Right.
Yeah. Don't let it get me angry and then say, am I near to the limit? Am I near to the limit? Because for me, if I can still ask myself, am I near to the limit? I'm not actually angry yet. For me, anger means losing control.
Yeah.
So I've got to try and not to be angry. And it says, what if we are only angry about what God is angry about? Consider some of the fruits of the Spirit are love, peace, joy, patience. Let's agree as fathers, it says here, so I guess this is aimed at men, that we're going to try to have fewer things that actually make us angry. And that I think is the first step. But I have got my 7 pointers, but let's see if we can. We're not there yet, Paul. We'll get there.
No, I'm not asking you to tell us everything, but there are going to be listeners tonight who want to know what those ways of actually dealing with that situation. I'm trying to keep control. There've been times when I've been hurt in my life, and I've only ever thought of hurting that person who hurt me.
Yeah.
That
was Martin's comment.
Yeah.
He said, don't be vengeful, be angry, but don't be vengeful. I think I was looking for his comment to try and read it, but I couldn't see it. But yeah, don't be vengeful, because that's a different thing. Because he asked, what is righteous indignation?
Right.
And I'm not sure if you were here when he asked that, but but
Yeah, it was.
yeah. So the righteous indignation is just that you just need to put some injustice right, correct? You
Yes.
need to realign some indignation, some injustice.
Yeah.
So we could say that is being angry and sinning, not because you want to right this injustice.
Mhm.
But I think if we are truly saying that we have a desire, not that we're there because we're people of faith, but we have a desire, an understanding that we want the character of Christ, and only the character of Christ will see us into his kingdom,
Mm.
then I've got to look at the things in me that are not good.
Yeah.
And even though I want to consider myself as a good person,
Yes.
I've got to know I'm a good person generally,
Yeah.
but there are these elements in my life that will keep me from seeing God's face because they are not of his character.
But isn't that the thoughts of a rational thinker?
Yes, but I'm a rational thinker when I'm not angry.
Yeah, but you're not a rational thinker when you're a 14-year-old boy.
Correct. So then go on. So what is your point then?
My point is that um, let's just take the program Adolescence,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
The whole thing came out about the type of person that you are and how you want to be in life.
Mhm.
And you've decided that you want to be this moral person,
Mhm.
and someone's judging you for the fact that you want to be this moral person, but they're judging you from a negative perspective, not a positive one. Okay. So you then start bullying this person because they want to do things in the right way. And they're okay with the way that they are. But
Yeah.
you know, you're living this life around people who do not have the same mindset that you do.
Right.
You're
Okay.
talking about a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah.
In the end, the 14-year-old boy commits murder
Yeah.
of this girl, and maybe she might have been 15 or whatever. But the point is that the whole way that the thing kind of twisted was the fact that she was bullying him
Yeah.
in her language and behavior and whatever, and he exacted some revenge
Right. Right.
for that bullying.
Right.
But the world that we're living in now, and we're talking about little kids, and we all know because we hear the stories virtually every day.
Mhm.
The 15-year-old or 14-year-old or 16-year-old
Yeah.
gets stabbed and whatever, and it's all where it is now. How, Mark, can I instruct my 13, 14-year-old to do the right thing? How do I do that?
Can I read a comment and make a comment?
Yeah.
Sabrina said, Paul trained up a child in the way he should go.
Yeah.
Now, the issue that I have with that, and not that I have an issue with what the Bible says,
However,
full stop. What I am saying is that one of the issues we have is that the word train up a child in the way you should go. A lot of parents
Yeah.
have the inability of looking past their own issues whilst they're parenting.
yeah.
And the moment when they realize who they are, their children are adults,
Yes.
Yeah.
and maybe then it's the too late syndrome.
Because they've already influenced that child.
Yeah.
So you brought your child up and they've seen you, and I think the biggest thing
Take
is
revenge
is
and
what
stuff.
they see you doing. Is
Yeah.
that what you tell them? Don't put your hand in the fire, and you put your hand in the fire all day. You know what I mean? It's like, is that the smoker parent who tells their child smoking is bad for you, and then they go to the garden and have a cigarette,
Yes.
and then their child grows up smoking because you told me it was bad,
Yeah.
but you've been doing it for 30
Yeah.
years.
And I've watched you do it.
And I've never seen you say, you know what? I'm gonna give this up because I want you to see that smoking is, and I want you to have a different
Yeah, we
experience
work
to
on
me,
this together. Yeah.
because that then is when the child looks and says, well, you know what? I can do because, and I think that's the issue with society in terms of they're
Don't do
not.
as I do as I say.
No, but many people are having babies in a place where they're not, the ideal in terms of being emotionally ready to have kids.
Yeah.
And this doesn't mean married or unmarried. There are people who are having children even married.
Yes.
They're going into marriages
Yeah.
broken,
Yes.
and they're expecting a marriage to fix them. And then they're expecting motherhood or fatherhood to fix them.
Yeah.
And actually, if you haven't, if you
Or motherhood and fatherhood to fix a relationship between those two
Right.
people.
Right. And then you then have a child who you brought a child into this mix,
Yes.
who then potentially you could resent,
Yes.
because usually the case is
Yeah.
all the traits of the other person that you hate, that child will have.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that will grate you, because that child sometimes reminds you of that person
Yeah.
and what they've done to you.
Yes.
So then you have a child. So is that cycle? So is that
Yeah.
thing of it's difficult to do this train up a child thing,
Yeah.
because actually there's lots of healing that needs to take place, and a lot of people find themselves as parents before they even realize they need to be healed.
You know that child,
You got a few, I think.
the point that I brought up just now, the child might be the piggy in the middle,
Yeah.
right? And that child is born out of anger
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
born out of a lack of control
Yeah.
from one party or the other party.
Yeah.
And now that child has to go through life with two people on both sides. You know, that child is the net
Yeah.
in the middle, and they're smacking the ball over the top of the child, back over,
Some of them,
and
some
so-
of them go straight into the net.
right, and a lot of them go into the net. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, I know we're kind of going round the issue, whatever, but as a person of faith, how do I manage my anger in such a way? How does my friend manage his anger in such a way that it will become the norm to speak in a particular way, to react in a certain way? If somebody decides that they're going to go in the lane before me, I don't get that mist of red descending on me, and I can just let it go. Let it go, you know. Mark, how do I do that?
Okay.
And how do I
Okay,
train my children to do that?
Right.
Okay, can I
Yes,
say,
go on.
Nicholas Johnson says, I once walked away from someone who slapped me in my face.
Mhm.
All of my friends were upset. I was too raging, but it was best to walk away. Temperament has so much to do with it.
Mhm.
And I think going back to
Mhm.
Paul's point is, when you take salt out of your diet,
Don't taste good.
no, it may not taste good, but then you then
You know it's good for you.
yeah, no. But because I remember removing salt from my diet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was we were removing salt out of our diet. And then you go somewhere and all of a sudden
Yeah.
everything tastes salty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you train yourself to do
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
then when it happens, and I've spoken about this before. Yeah. So I've spoken about before. I remember when I said to myself, right, I'm not gonna lie anymore. And it wasn't because I was a liar or anything else of that. It was just because every now and then you call, oh no, sorry, she's in the shower, nobody in the shower.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I said, all those little bits, I'm gonna stop. And then you start realizing, wow, I lied more than I thought I lied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people start lying to you,
Yeah.
and then it makes your stomach turn.
Yeah.
Because so is that whole thing in terms of recognizing, is
Yeah.
this what I want to do?
Yeah.
And then working towards removing it from your diet.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's exactly it. The healing cannot come until you first acknowledge
Right.
that you've
Mm.
got something that you need to
Isn't
change.
that what Alcoholics or Addicts
Yeah,
Anonymous-
First thing is
you've got to acknowledge that
you've got to say, my name's Mark and I'm an alcoholic. You say,
Right.
well, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not going to say that. Well, you can't start
Yeah.
because that's the
Right.
first thing you've got to
Yeah, you've got to
acknowledge.
acknowledge, yeah.
And temperament. You see, because we've all got a different temperament.
Yeah.
So for some people, the cutting me up in the car will make me smile. For some people, the red mist will descend.
Yeah.
All of that kind of stuff. I've been in situations where I'm coming up to a roundabout and there's two lanes, and there's a long line in the left lane, and I'm going down the right lane, and then I go around the roundabout and keep going straight ahead.
Right.
But one of the guys in the left
Left
lane
lane wants to go round the roundabout.
No.
angle-
He wants to go straight as well. But as far as he's concerned, I shouldn't have gone down the right lane.
Right.
So now we're on that straight.
Yeah.
He's driving like Ayrton Senna, or for the younger people, Lewis Hamilton.
To get past you.
And then we're in traffic, it's not like we're on an open road.
Yeah.
We're in traffic, and he nearly takes out the bollard, cuts in front of me, but then we're in his traffic. So me and him I sit just behind his bumper for the next mile and a half until one of us turn off. There's nowhere that we're going, but it's just like, no, why did he go down the right lane?
Yeah, I'm gonna teach him a lesson.
Yeah. But for some people it's not a biggie. So the first thing you really want me to go there, Paul. How are we going to deal with this anger thing? The first thing I was going to say, and my notes do say this. The first thing is to realize that we want to change. I think the thing even before that is to realize, and I think it was something that you read, or did you say temperament? Somebody mentioned temperament. That we are all of a different temperament.
Right.
And the reason why I think we need to recognize that first is so that we don't compare your progress with my progress.
Right.
Because we're not starting from the same place. So because Paul can control X, Y, Z, and I can't control that, but I can control something else. Because where we're starting from is comments are only now starting to come through.
All right.
So I went to the old thing. Maybe it takes a while to come in. I don't know. Because I was trying to find the old comments, and I've just saw one come
No,
through.
it's coming through at the time it was said.
But Mark, my question then is, how different is that to how we behave in church?
Well, okay,
because we will have this standard.
No,
he's
triggering me. He's trying to. No, I'm beyond it, Paul. I've got control.
Honestly,
the red mist won't descend.
There is no.
I'm holding it.
There is no.
He uses the word standard in church.
That standard is coming through my language and my behavior. So I'm now expecting everyone to either be the same level or above or whatever, and we judge people.
If I start pounding the table, will the listeners think that I've
I missed that. I missed the comment.
Okay. But hold on, but all right. But I'm coming back to Paul on his one about his standards.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, so I was told to scroll up. Dawn said red mist is a very real thing, or the ability to clap back. Yep. At times, it has been hard not to flip over tables based on your upbringing, environmental circumstances. I'm still in a work in progress.
Yeah.
Red light moments loading, and that's Dawn from because she did the red light moments with after the drive time show. And then Roy says so.
So you got you got all the ones that.
I got the ones in between. I just missed those. Paul, the way to achieve the holiness you just described will only result from the person spending more and more real time with the Father. You must spend time in His Word and surround yourself with God. He does this by listening to music, sermons, etc. Hence why I listen to ARL for most of the day.
Amen.
And then I got you, Dawn. I got you, Dawn.
So
right, I think I'm up to date. Hello for all those that are watching us on YouTube.
We don't get anything.
We haven't got any guys because we hardly said the number tonight. So let me just do one more time and let Mark hit his points.
I'm waiting to hear Mark's response.
We are talking about Master the Temper is Raging.
Well, no, we changed it, Paul. We said Master the Temper is Raging.
Raging.
Our email address is studio@adventistradio.london. That is studio@adventistradio.london. You can text us on 82228, right? Hope you were space in your message. Or you can WhatsApp us on 07459 642 898. I repeat, 07459 642 898. We are live on YouTube, Instagram, and on Mark's Facebook.
Mark Bray, Facebook. Okay, so Paul tried to get me on air,
I tried.
expose me on air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the red mist was gonna come, man. But no. In all seriousness, the thing that my big bugbear is that whenever we talk about how we can be better or what should we do about something, is the church in the right place? How do we as individuals move ourselves from Laodicea? And if we can't move the church from Laodicea because that's prophetic, how do we move ourselves from being Laodicean so that we have the correct character of Christ? And it's really a bugbear of mine when we talk about, yes, but the standard of the church, or no one in the church will let you, or in our church it's not possible, or whatever these things are. Now, I always say, well, hold on. If the church has a standard that, as far as they are concerned, they are not going to adjust in order to have a character more like Christ, let them keep their standard and just keep it moving. I won't even bother myself with it, because they're saying, if we say, if we I can't try and think of a decent example, but if we say that by allowing a certain practice in your church would more give you this character of Christ, and you say, yeah, no, but not in my church, we're not going to allow that. We've got a certain standard to uphold, so we are going to keep that standard. We're saying that we are going to have a standard that is not getting us closer to Christ.
Biblical.
Yeah, biblical standard. That because if it's not going to bring us closer to Christ, then it can't be biblical. Because anything biblical is supposed to bring us closer to Christ.
We're already close to Christ.
Yeah, and that's my point, Paul. This only works if we've identified that we want to change. If we've identified that, well, this is a so God make me, and I saw me stay, and I saw me go stay so till him come.
How about
then it's a mute conversation.
How about it's none of your business?
Well, even if that's your stance is that it's none of your business, then you will not seek change. This can only be a discussion about those that understand that they are angry, or whichever night we're discussing whatever it is, and they have this thing that is a barrier between them and getting the character of Christ, and they want to navigate around it or through it. If I'm saying, well, I already have the character of Christ, even though I'm not doing the things that Christ said I should do, but this is the right character, this is the standard, this is whatever it is, and I'm not going to change, that's fine. Then this isn't for you. This is only for those like me who realizes that my righteous indignation is very unrighteous, and it's not of the character of Christ. Therefore, I need to put in place the steps to alter it. And if I'm not prepared to do that, then I'm not really worth you spending your time conversing with me, because no matter what you say, I don't want to listen. I'm not interested.
And you have to also, I think, acknowledge that some of the steps will include also looking at where your anger came from.
Yes, and the
pain attached to the anger that you have, etc. as well. Couple comments.
If I'm capable of looking where your anger came from.
No. Me.
You're old.
So it has to start with me, because
that's what I'm saying. But the point I'm saying about and I say this kindly and with respect, the church,
Mm.
in inverted commas,
Yeah.
and that whole word that you absolutely hate, Mark, standard.
Oh, he said it
Right.
again. He said it again. Did he say that? Did
No.
he say that?
Trigger.
Oh no, you didn't.
Trigger. Oh yes, I did.
I see the red mist.
You know. So I'm now not looking at your circumstance, where you're coming from,
Uh-huh.
and what got you to that point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, well, this is the way that we do things around here, and quite frankly, it's not good enough, and therefore I'm going to condemn you
Yes.
for behaving that way or responding
Yes.
in a particular way because it doesn't satisfy me.
Right. So my only question, my one and only question is your behavior in line with the character of Christ? Yes or no?
Well,
No,
yeah,
yes
but
or no?
But of course it is. Of course it is. And
Then
no,
good luck.
You
Delusions
don't wear
of grandeur.
you don't come here without a broad rim hat.
No,
on.
no. So
Yes,
then, and
a kerchief and
And a
wear a
kerchief.
tie.
So,
You're not going up on that on the rostrum without
Yeah.
a tie.
firebomb them.
no,
So,
no. So what I would say is that
firebomb them.
what I would say.
What we would say.
What I would say is that, okay, you are not yet in the place to examine yourself and compare your character with the character of Christ. So this conversation is not yet for you. So you're telling me that I'm not? We're stuck in a loop there, aren't we?
I am a
You know what?
Christian.
Yeah, well, I'll just leave you.
No, you know
I'll
what?
see
You
you-
walk away.
I'll see you at the tree of life. Yeah, you'll walk
No,
away.
no. Or one of us may be at the tree of life.
No,
And you're certainly not going to be because you're wear a tie.
Stop
Okay.
it, guys.
So,
Hold on,
what
guys.
is- yeah, go on.
Well, Sabrina, we cannot live one life at home, yes, and a different life when we meet for worship.
Mhm.
It's a lie we're living.
Yeah.
Ruth says young people want to fit in. Peer pressure to do the wrong is rife.
Yeah.
There are lots of anger, frustration in our society, very true. Charlie, and then she put fires up and laughing. I don't know what that's about, but anyway.
So you're telling people to fire bond them, aren't you?
It's fire.
It's true.
Fire.
So, okay.
Here.
The first thing it says about dealing with anger, it
Okay.
says, is no, you pick up your paper.
Listen, you know what? I've got some juicy things on this. It's a beautiful research paper, but anyway, I'll let you do your bit because I think we might have to use this in another show.
The first thing it says, and the first thing it says is that anger is not always a sin. Ephesians 4:26. So that's the first thing to acknowledge, that anger is not always a sin. For me, I have to try and not get angry because I haven't yet been able to differentiate between being angry and then not sinning. But it's saying, be aware that anger is not always a sin. That's in Ephesians 4:26. Okay. So, and this is something that Martin was asking earlier on, and when he said, what about righteous indignation? And he says, there is a healthy anger, which is righteous indignation. It is a God-given energy that opposes ungodly social or personal evils, defends the innocent because of our love for Christ. 2 Corinthians 5:14. Agreed. That's the righteous indignation.
So righteous indignation is not anger.
Oh, no, they're kind of using it. They're saying it is. I said it wasn't,
Right.
but the author here is saying it is,
Yes.
that the righteous indignation is an anger, but one that you control.
Right.
Mark is saying that Mark can't control anger, so try not to get angry. So, because I will see injustice and want to do something about it.
Yes.
In my head, I don't see that.
Which is understandable.
Yeah, I don't see that as anger. But okay, let's not split the hairs on that. So what is sinful anger then? So sinful anger, unfortunately, is the kind that it says here that most of us experience.
Yeah, when you're out of control.
Yeah. To some people, unhealthy anger is one of our biggest challenges. And as for Christians, it's one of the ugliest emotions that we can express because sinful anger is it occurs when you violate scripture, right? It does not bring honor to God's name. So if we're angry at any point and we're not bringing honor to God, that is not righteous indignation.
Right.
That is carnal.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Involves revenge. Oops.
I don't do them things.
Charlie,
Don't look
you
at me.
spent 20 minutes telling us about how you dressed the man down properly. When he was finished, he went home with his
Yeah, but
tail
that wasn't
in,
revenge.
in lapping
That was-
tail.
That wasn't revenge.
Oh, I would have felt that was my revenge if it was me.
No, I want you to feel small. This is different.
But come on. But if you involve oh. If it involves revenge, comma,
Mm.
hatred, comma, or hurting others.
It's the truth. It's the truth. If the cat fit, Bob Marley said, "You can wear it."
Yeah, but Jesus never said it. Jesus didn't say to the woman caught in adultery,
Listen.
if the cap fit.
It was his size.
So hold on. But in all seriousness, and this is I think part of it. This is part of it is that we try to follow God. We all try to follow God with the characters we have.
Mhm.
I think that probably is it.
But God is a bespoke God.
Yeah. Don't get this twisted, Charlie.
Oh.
We try to follow God so He will accept all our different personalities,
Mhm.
but personality and character is two different things. So He will accept our different personalities. Paul likes apples. I like pears. Paul likes walking in the garden. I'd much rather go and look at museums. He can accept all of that as a difference. That's not a standard.
Mhm.
But if our anger, if our behavior is not, his character isn't different for Paul and me and you, that what he expects in character is the same. So if our anger violates scripture, boom. If our anger does not bring honor to his name, remember now I'm angry, and what I'm going to do doesn't bring honor to God. It's sinful. If it involves revenge, hatred, or hurting others, sinful. It grieves the Holy Spirit and gives Satan a foothold, a platform, in our language, to act in your life. It's sinful. It obscures your witness to others and disrupts unity with other Christians. It is sinful. And these have biblical references. So Ephesians 6:11, if you want to write them down, Ephesians 6:11, 1 Corinthians 10:31, and I think that's James. That must be James. JAS, James 4:17. Okay, so what causes sinful anger? Sinful anger comes from a variety of sources. For example, you do not trust God's sovereignty. Now, we might say we trust God's sovereignty, but if we say we trust God's sovereignty, but in this church we do it this way, God isn't sovereign. If we say we trust God's sovereignty, but I just can't stand it when people put their bin in my front yard, we're not trusting God's sovereignty. If we're saying, if we say, look, I don't believe that, I don't believe that, I don't believe that, I'm not a bad person, I just want to do it my way, that means I'm saying that I know better than God and I want to get to heaven on my sovereignty. So if you don't trust God's sovereignty, that's Romans 5:3-5. Pride, James 1:20. What am I reading? I'm reading, what causes sinful anger? Pride, the biggest one. The biggest one. not trusting God's sovereignty, a genuine or perceived injustice or injury. So somebody did hurt you. They did hurt you. It's not like I thought they hurt me, but they didn't really. They didn't. I thought they did something wrong to me, but they didn't really. No, they did. They did. But because of that genuine or perceived injustice or injury, I then want to get revenge, show hatred, or hurt others. That's sinful anger.
Yeah.
Or living to please yourself. Yes, okay. And memories of traumatic or enraging situations. Memories or that's one for you, I mean, not one for you, but one that you speak of often.
Listen to someone I've even thought about that for a while.
What trauma? You always talk about is trauma and learned behavior, and it didn't start with you and all of that stuff.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about me bringing up my
No.
But
See?
you know what, Mark?
Yeah.
I hear everything that you're saying, and I acknowledge it. I'm just
However, the
thinking about-
standard.
No, I'm just thinking about where it all starts. 'Cause
What
it's
the
gonna
healing?
start com-
The healing?
Well,
Or no? What start? The healing.
your control,
Oh right,
your
yeah,
control,
yeah.
where that starts,
Yeah.
at what point
Yeah,
it actually starts, because to get to a point where someone can do something that's really quite heinous to you,
yeah.
or to your loved one or whatever,
Yeah.
and you not get to a point where you want to unalive that person.
Yeah.
It's got to have started somewhere
Yeah.
for you to build up the points
Yeah.
to get to that level.
Yeah.
And you're not a psychologist, and I doubt if it's written down there, but where does this all start, and how do we make it start so that we're building up to the point where it's like Enoch. Enoch walked with God until he was no more.
Yeah.
Right? Because there was just no sin found in Enoch whatsoever. So how do I get to that point where I come up to the point where I now there's nothing that you can do that is going to get me to that point where any kind of mist, red, green, blue, yellow, is going to descend on me.
What? Go on.
I once listened to some sort of podcast, whatever not. And the guy was saying that the decision that you make in the morning, in the first 5 seconds of the morning, will determine what the rest of your day is like.
Right.
So when your alarm goes off, because they say different things they tend to do, like put your alarm the other side of the room so you have to get up. But they said if in the first 5 seconds of the morning, when your alarm goes off, if you pull back the sheets and get up, that's how your day will start. But the moment you snooze, or you don't get up, or you don't choose to, that's when you're in trouble for your day. So every day, you have to decide that I'm going to take the sheet off. The alarm's gone off. So stuff to do with the intentional decision.
Yes.
And my phone will no longer be next to me at night. The phone will be across the room.
Right.
I will put my alarm or out of the room so that when the alarm goes off, I have to get up to that's an intentional decision. Then that way, when I'm up now, let me go to the gym. Or I'm up now, let me have my devotion. Or up now, what I mean, if you're not doing devotion, or if you find yourself struggling doing devotion, like, what are you going to put in place? Because if you want to do an action, you have to be intentional with the package that's related to that action. So what's your intention? What's your desired outcome? My desired outcome is to be less reactive. Therefore, I am now going to look at what other things that triggered me, where's this anger coming from? What can I put in place to prevent myself from being reactive? So, as I said earlier on, if I start speaking, chopping up patois in my head, I know that something in this environment is not right for me. Yeah?
Right.
So guess what? Let me leave this environment. Let me stop this conversation. Let me move away from it because I know If I don't do that, the next response is going to be,
Yeah. And out
hold
of
on,
control.
Hurtful, yeah,
Ahu? You understand?
yeah.
And then it's going to go into something totally different. So if I'm going to be intentional in the and if I need to be in this conversation, I also know that, right? So Charlie, you're angry right now. Yes, you are very angry. What are you going to say? So be very careful with the words that you're saying in this moment, because if you're not careful of the words you're saying, you're going to say something that is going to be hurtful. So then I start talking to myself. And part of me talking to myself in that moment means I'm also not even listening to what you're saying. So I'm not actively listening, but actually part of that is my mechanism, because whilst you're there throwing your nonsense in my ear, I actually haven't heard half of it. So the stuff because if I start engaging with what you're saying, I then start, what? You're who? Oh, yeah, and then it goes into something else. But actually, in this moment, I'm preparing myself to say, I've heard the comments that you've just made, and I need some time to reflect on it. But you have a nice day. And then I can take myself away out to a conversation. And that's something that works for Charlie. You need to find the thing that works for you, because if you find the thing that works for you and you work on it and you're intentional with it, you'll be prepared for whatever situation you're in, and something gets flung at you, and your response will going to be to fight, but actually you'll stop and then you'll have that conversation with Jesus, and hopefully you won't fight.
Well, interesting that you said have that conversation with Jesus, because the last one I read was what causes sinful anger, and I read that not trusting God's sovereignty. And it says, well, how do you handle sinful anger? And it says your first step is through prayer. The first step is realizing that you're going to be trying to change your character. So that's it. If we've already decided that our character is fine, we won't want it to change. So we've got to be able to realize that we need a change, and we're going to ask God to change it. First, we confess our sins, confess our sinful nature. It says, confess our sinful nature to God, 1 John 1:9. It then says to others, 4:31, Ephesians 4:31-32, and to ourselves, but I'd go to ourselves, then God, and maybe others, but you got to be by yourself first.
I was thinking about which route, because in truth be told, if you are at a point where you are acknowledging God and you're praying or whatever, it can go that way round. Do most people go that way round?
Oh, I don't know.
Right, because the reality is they're going to try and sort out the situation because it's there in the present.
Yes.
They're not going to be thinking about my Christianity or my faith or whatever, and go that way round, and you go to God and God gives you whatever. You're just going to think about how you're going to deal with that situation. So I don't think your faith will be the first thing that you think of.
Or if you're saying that even when the red mist has not descended, so just in a conscious moment, a reflective moment, you're thinking, what is keeping me from the character of Christ? And you might say, I get angry when I'm driving, or I get angry if my child says this.
You're not thinking about the character of Christ.
No, hold on. If I'm in a reflective mood, nothing's gone wrong. And I'm thinking, well, as a person of faith, you're constantly thinking, how can I become closer to God? How do I get his character? So I'm just thinking that. Yeah. Paul gave me a look, but I think so. I think so. I think If that's part of your daily devotion, and your reflecting, you keep your mind constantly on Jesus, those kind of scenarios that we talk about. What can I do to be a better person? So you realize that there are things in your character that are not God's character. So once you recognize that, and then say, if you say, but I'm going to have it anyway, that's one thing. If you say, no, then I want to change it, you give it over to God, then you go to God. And if you've sinned against someone, then you would go to them.
Mm.
That's what I would do. It says, secondly, after that, rejoice.
So, because I'm commenting, do you
Mm.
want to finish that off?
Go on, go on.
Dawn said, respond and not react. I agree, Charlie. And then Ruth says, Charlie, when you're an adult, you can manage your anger and change and change. Teenagers are still learning who they are.
Yeah.
And I think my response to that is teenagers learn from the adults. Teenagers learn from the adults around them.
Yes.
So, and I think that was a point I think we made in terms of having when you become a parent, sometimes before it's time, you're not prepared emotionally for what that also means.
Yes.
So if you're showing your children that, yes, I go touchy and I go fixy and what do you think your child's gonna grow up to?
Absolutely.
They're gonna grow up
Yes, they are.
with that transferred
Yes.
anger,
Yes.
and they don't even know why they're angry.
Yeah.
You know why you're angry,
Yeah.
but your child will then grow up angry without knowing that.
Mm.
So it's also giving them good examples of anger and how to deal with tough situations and hope and pray that is what they emulate, what they've seen.
Okay, so we've got it then says, secondly, after that, rejoice, knowing that overcoming this will mature us spiritually. James 1:2-4. That's true, but that might not be like the next day, because that's the journey.
That's definitely, you have to come up to see it.
Yeah, that's the journey.
Yeah.
So then we rejoice, knowing that by overcoming this, we will mature spiritually. And we're talking about, I mean, you've mentioned a couple of times about the young people that don't have that, are not mature enough to do that. Yeah, that might well be true. And all we can do is train them as well we can. And when they become mature, they will be doing this exercise for themselves. But all we can do is train
We also
them.
need to be really open and honest with them, Mark.
Yeah.
And I find
what-
in general
Part of the training.
that
Yeah.
we somehow skip over things that might even be traumatic. But we have to be really open and honest with them about this journey that they're going to have to go through and some of the pitfalls that they might have along the way.
Yes.
And, you know, so you're preparing them honestly and openly
yeah.
rather than giving them this sanitized version of it. And then when they meet,
When life hits them.
life hits them,
Yeah.
wow.
Then it's harder for them.
It is
because,
harder, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then praying through anger includes confessing my anger, give thanks, ask the Holy Spirit to be my guide and my behavior. So the practices of dealing with the anger practically is that we express our anger correctly when we're clear-headed in our communication and lovingly confront others. So if you get angry, take the time to clear your head before you respond. Clear your head before you respond, because you will then be dealing with your anger properly and clear-headed in your communication, and so you can lovingly confront others. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Okay, so to be quick to hear, firstly, responding by listening rather than anger is very helpful. A German proverb states, blah, 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 that the best answer to anger is silence. Learn to listen carefully. Nothing diffuses anger more effectively than listening. No, I think that's right. No, well, nothing. Well, that's right, because I think you were alluding to that earlier, Charlie. You were talking about, people just listen to what they've got to say, calm down, and then say, I'll take a time to reflect on this before I come back to you. To be slow to speak, I think that just moves on from that point. It says, I have learned the hard way that there are 2 times when I need to keep my mouth shut. First, when I was swimming in dirty water, and the second, when I'm angry. There's 2 times to keep your mouth shut. One, when you're swimming in dirty water, and 2, when you're angry.
And Sabrina says, write the email, leave it there overnight, then rewrite it.
Yeah.
Oh, you
definitely.
know what? Can I say another trick as well is write the email. We use Copilot at work. Put it into Copilot and ask Copilot to make it less angry. So,
What?
because you can sometimes ask AI,
I didn't know you could do that.
does it,
Okay.
or does this email come across rude, or can you reformalize it?
Yeah.
Because and that's a beautiful.
I have a good friend that I usually send messages like that to,
Mm,
and they are able to tone it down,
mm.
which is really good, I find. But yes, Sabrina, I like the idea of writing it and then revisiting it.
Yes.
It's very good.
So and this one says, how do you respond slowly to anger? That
Mm.
example.
Yeah.
And it said, take a deep breath, count to 10. Maintain a healthy distance from the other person while you are angry and engage with them only when you can speak constructively. So you're angry. I just need to get out of this situation. When you calm down, you deal with them and you have a contingent.
So hold on. Dawn says, or send the email to yourself. The only problem I would say with that, Dawn, is make sure you look so that you put yourself in the two, because sometimes when you're thinking about somebody, when you say
Type their
the
name.
message,
There was this guy that before mobile phones, he was having an affair. And he really wanted to phone, he really wanted to phone his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So he went to the phone box. But of course he dialed his wife. He dialed his house. And his wife picks up the phone. It's like, darling, why are you outside phoning the house? Oh dear. So you got to focus, clear your thoughts.
Yes.
Have a contingency plan. When sinful anger begins swelling inside you, it is good to have a contingency plan.
Yeah.
Immediately pray for insight, remembering that you can control your thoughts. Okay, so that's it. If the red mist is going to descend, I've got to. If the red mist is going to descend, I've got to pray for insight. Plan for your long-term change with anger. So you've got to remember that I want to change. The first step is committing to change. So you've got to decide that it is not the thing that you want, and you've got to give it over to God. You've got to identify all situations, places, and people that cause you to become angry, then eliminate them, flee and resist them. When I'm driving, or when my wife does this, when my children do that, when my boss says this, whatever it is that makes you angry, decide that you're going to get out of that situation, not put yourself in that situation. And ignore petty disagreements. You don't always have to win the argument,
Right.
even if the person is wrong. You don't
be more focused on the war,
on the war,
not the battle.
but not the battle. That's it. It then says, forgive like Jesus. Okay, that one's not the next day. And a final note of caution, it says, if someone's threatened your safety, remove yourself to a safe place.
Yes.
Contact the appropriate healthcare workers, etc., etc., etc. And do not return to close proximity of this angry person until they have agreed to a strategy for dealing with their anger and you feel safe.
Yeah.
That's me. That's what I got. But I think, the first thing you've got to, for us people of faith, the first thing has got to be that we acknowledge the fact that our characters are not in line with the character of God.
Yeah.
And we want to change. So for all the other circumstances where we say, I'm fine, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Then we're in trouble. Okay. So Charlene, that's it. You got a final word?
Next week?
You're good? Oh, next week?
Next week, we're looking at legal matters next week.
Legal matters. That's enough to get you angry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Legal matters, particularly with faith, or just generally?
A bit of both.
A bit. So both. Okay.
A bit of both.
That'll keep us going. Won't it?
Both.
Both. That'll keep us going.
That will keep us going.
Okay.
Right.
So until next week, we'll be talking about legal matters both in and outside of faith. We'll see you then. God bless. Good night.
depression, negative thoughts, trauma, and uncertainty can all cause emotional imbalance. Don't
CCS.
struggle alone. CCS, your trusted confidential counselling service, is here for you.
CCS.
Call our listening line on 03301 332
Midnight,
945.
reach, not midnight,
Office
but
line
quarter to 12,
appointments on
reach.
020
They've closed the road.
7723
No, last
8000.
week.
Our website,
Yes.
Last Wednesday.
www.ccs.org.uk.
I don't know if it's closed now.
Our counsellors speak various languages. CCS, a shoulder to lean on. We are here to listen.